This story sounds like it's ripped straight from a Hollywood heist movie, but believe it or not, it's all true. We're talking about a financial scheme so huge, so massive, it almost brought an entire nation to its knees. And the craziest part? It was all the brainchild of just one man. All right, let's set the scene. It's December 5th, 1992, a cold night in Moscow. The Soviet Union had collapsed just a year earlier, and the country, well, it was in total turmoil. Kind of like the Wild West, full of opportunity, but also a ton of danger. And what's about to go down this one night, nobody could have seen it coming. So you've got these two robbers, right? They break into the main office of a private company called MMM. They're probably thinking it's a standard job, grab some computers, maybe crack a safe for some petty cash, easy peasy. But what they find inside, it's staggering. It's not just some cash, it's a literal sea of money. We're talking every single room packed from the floor right up to the ceiling with stacks and stacks of bills. They pretty much immediately realize that their two little bags, well, they aren't even gonna make a dent. So security finally gets the owner on the phone, this guy, Sergey Mavrodi, and his response? It's legendary. He's actually annoyed that they woke him up. Can you believe it? He tells them not to bother him with, and I quote, trivial matters. A few bags of cash were just trivial. Trivial? Yeah, right. To put this in perspective, some estimates say that the amount of cash just sitting in Mavrodi's offices was equal to about 1/3 of Russia's entire national budget. Let that sink in. One guy controlled 1/3 of the country's money. So the big question is, how on earth did he pull that off? Well, to understand that, we've got to rewind a bit. This whole story is really about a moment in history, a perfect storm of chaos that made something totally impossible, well, possible. So let's talk about the man himself, Sergey Mavrodi. On paper, he was just an ordinary mathematician. Nothing special. But in reality, he was the kind of genius who looked at the economic rubble of a fallen empire and saw an opportunity that no one else did. You really have to understand what Russia was like in the early 90s. It was the perfect breeding ground for something like this. The old Soviet system was gone, and what was left was just economic chaos. The general public was, for the most part, completely financially illiterate. I mean, they had no experience with capitalism, stocks, or investing. But what they did have was this widespread, desperate hope for a better future. And Mavrodi was smart. He tapped into this first by importing things people really wanted, like computers. That made his company, MMM, a name people knew and trusted. Okay, so now that he had this trusted company name, Mavrodi made a pivot. He stopped selling computers and started selling something way, way more profitable. An empty, impossible dream. So just so we're all on the same page, what exactly is a pyramid scheme? It's actually pretty simple. You promise investors these amazing, huge returns. Then you pay off the first group of investors using the money you get from a second, bigger group. Then you pay that second group with money from a third, even bigger group. You see where this is going. The huge problem is that there's no real business making any money. You're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, and mathematically, it's always doomed to collapse. And Mavrodi's method was just a masterclass in manipulation. First, he started selling these shares in his company, MMM, except they weren't real shares. They were basically just colorful pieces of paper with his face printed on them. Next, he launched this absolutely massive ad campaign showing regular, everyday people becoming millionaires overnight. And then, the final step, he used all that new cash flooding in to pay off the first investors with enormous profits, creating these very public success stories that just fan the flames. And look, when we say it was an overwhelming advertising blitz, we mean it. At its absolute peak, 1 out of every 4 TV commercials in all of Russia was for MMM. Think about that. You literally couldn't escape him. He even sponsored free ride days on the Moscow subway. Mavrodi was just everywhere. And the result of all this? It was pure nationwide hysteria. The shares went on sale February 1st, 1994. By July, that's just 5 months later, their supposed value had skyrocketed by 127 times. People were watching their life savings multiply in a way that just seemed impossible. You know, Mavrodi's whole sales pitch basically boiled down to one simple, powerful line. He wasn't out there talking about complex business strategies or market analysis. No, he just kept repeating this mantra. Today, they're worth more than yesterday. And because, for a while, it was true every single day, millions of people started to believe it would be true forever. Now, as you can probably guess, when one guy gets this powerful, this fast, it doesn't go unnoticed. Mavrodi was becoming so big, he was practically a rival to the Russian state itself. A showdown was absolutely inevitable. I mean, the whole nation was divided. To millions of regular Russians, Mavrodi was like a messiah. He was the guy making them rich when the government couldn't do anything for them. His popularity was so insane that he actually greeted the nation on New Year's Eve on TV instead of the president. That was a huge slap in the face to the state. And, well, the state's reaction was predictable. They arrested him and accused him of fraud. Okay, and this is where the story takes a turn that is just completely surreal. From his jail cell, Mavrodi makes an announcement. He's running for parliament. His pitch to his millions of followers was incredibly simple. Vote for me, I'll get political immunity, I'll walk out of jail, and I'll turn the money taps back on. And you know what? It worked. He won. He actually won the election from his jail cell and walked free, totally untouchable. But here's the thing. Even a member of parliament with immunity can't defy the basic laws of math forever. The pyramid had gotten way too big and the end was coming, fast. So when the whole thing finally collapsed, the cost, it was devastating. We're talking about 15 million people. That's how many are estimated to have lost absolutely everything they had, pouring their life savings into this empty promise. And the total financial damage? Some estimates put it at a staggering $80 billion. This was a financial catastrophe that wiped out an entire generation's savings. Tragically, dozens of people who lost everything ended up taking their own lives. So after the collapse, the government stripped Mavrodi of his immunity, and poof, he vanished. When the authorities finally located his hidden stashes of cash, the sheer physical amount was just, it's hard to even picture. It took 18 heavy-duty trucks to haul all the money away. For the next 5 years, this guy was one of the most wanted fugitives on the planet. The world was searching for him everywhere, Scandinavia, Greece, you name it. But the truth? The truth is almost comical. He never even left Moscow. He was found hiding out in a rented apartment in the building right next to his own. So they finally captured him in 2003, and he ended up serving just 4.5 years in prison. Can you believe that? After he got out, he actually tried to start up new pyramid schemes, but the magic was gone. And then, in March 2018, Sergey Mavrodi, the man who once controlled a third of Russia's money, died of a heart attack, all alone, at a bus stop in Moscow. You know, the story of MMM really was a perfect storm of a unique moment in history and brilliant, cynical manipulation. But it leaves us with a question that's as relevant today as it was then. Mavrodi's scheme might have been a product of 1990s Russia, but that human desire for an easy out, for a miracle, that's universal. So it really makes you wonder, why do we still fall for promises that are so obviously too good to be true?